Welcome to Live from Paris. I'm Mark Owen, accompanied by our international affairs editor, Philip Turl. We're expecting some breaking news coming from London, where we can see right now at the House of Commons, members of the 1922 committee about to give us, we think, the result of that no confidence or confidence vote in Theresa May. That's Sir Graham Brady, chairman of the 1922 committee, with a big smile and a slip of paper and Miss May's fate in that. Let's go to him.
Colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank the officers of the 1922 committee for their help, especially my two assistant returning officers, Dame Cheryl Gillen and Charles Walker. The result of the ballot held this evening is that the parliamentary party does have confidence. Does have confidence in Theresa May as leader of the Conservative Party. The number of votes cast in favour of having confidence in Theresa May was 200 and against was 117. Under the rules set out in the constitution of the Conservative Party, no further confidence vote can take place for at least 12
And there we have it then. Theresa May, UK Prime Minister, has won that vote of confidence from her own party. The chairman of the 1922 committee has made that announcement, Sir Graham Brady, confirming that Theresa May remains in place. Let's cross a first reaction to our London correspondent, Benedict Pavio, who is awaiting us in the shadow of the Houses of Parliament, wrapped up against the cold. Benedict, good evening to you. A first reaction. Theresa May, then, winning the vote.
Winning the vote, and if I heard the feed correctly, she got 200, I believe, votes, is what I seem to be able to hear. So she has won. Look, without wanting to... so she remains party leader. She remains Prime Minister. She, in a sense, has called the bluff and certainly faced down her critics. There were so many rumours, but so it means that the bookmakers, it means that the British media got it right. They believed that she would win this. She has. But where I would really give a word of caution, and that is that when Downing Street, the Prime Minister's aides, this afternoon, before she went and appealed behind closed doors in Committee 14, where that announcement has just been given by Sir Graham Brady, the chairman of the 1922, this backbench committee, and they were saying she understands she will not be the leader of the Conservative Party and the Prime Minister that will take the Conservative Party into the next general election. She just wants to get through an orderly Brexit. She wants to get on with the job. Any leader that announces like that they're not going to be the leader at the next general election, is perforce weaker. And it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy that your power and your authority ebbs away. So I don't want to rain on Mrs. May's parade, but this is a very embattled, still Prime Minister. Let's remember she called off that vote, the meaningful vote in Parliament, heavily criticised for that by Brexiteers within her own party, Remainers within her own party, and certainly by the opposition. An emergency debate that was held today where Jeremy Corbyn really could not have been more... Sorry, it was held yesterday, long time in politics. And again, heavily criticised by Jeremy Corbyn today. where he was saying this is pure contempt. When is this meaningful vote coming? So she has won this vote tonight, tick box, big tick in the box, but she still has this problem that the DUP that helps her get legislation through Parliament, because she is leading, remember, a minority Conservative party, are against the deal that she's managed to negotiate under. It's taken her almost 2 years. She's lost 2 Brexit secretaries. She's on her 3rd. So it doesn't look rosy, the road ahead. She is now going to go to an EU summit that will be dominated by Brexit, and the EU leaders and President Tusk and President Juncker have made it very clear to her, as indeed Angela Merkel and others, that there can be no renegotiation. There can only be clarification or further interpretation. So a huge still in tray and huge problems, and we will see how this result plays out in reality, not just in Parliament and in the various rooms. I can tell you there's been so much plotting of various people who seem to want to replace her, but in the end, they voted for her, even in that secret ballot. So she wins the day, she ends the day, still Conservative leader and still United Kingdom, although it's a very divided United Kingdom, Prime Minister.
Benedict Pavio, as ever, pleasure to have your analysis. Benedict Pavio, our correspondent there in London. As you can see, the Houses of Parliament behind her. If you just joined us, Theresa May has won that vote of no confidence by a margin of 200 votes to 117. She's got the backing of her party. That was announced just moments ago by Sir Graham Brady, chairman of the Backbench 1922 committee. Philip Tills, our international affairs editor. Philip, when you and I were talking pre-programme, we didn't quite think, well, I wasn't sure which way it was going to go. Give us your reaction, give us your analysis of what we just heard.
Well, as Benedict was just saying, she's got a stare of execution, Theresa May. This is today a purely Conservative Party issue. This is trying to sort out this never-ending row in the Conservative Party between the pro-Brexit side and the anti-Brexit side, and in the middle there are the soft Brexit people who are sort of a bit in agreement with what she's negotiated so far, but not 100%. And the hard Brexit side are not in agreement with Theresa May. They say this accord is not at all what we wanted. This accord is totally unsuitable, principally because of the famous backstop. The backstop, what is it? Well, it's a mechanism that will come into effect if after a transition period beginning on the 29th of March next year and due to end at the end of 2020, during that period, if they don't manage to work out a trade deal with the European Union, then we go into what's called the backstop, which will maintain free movement of goods and services between Northern Ireland, which is part of the United Kingdom, and the Republic of Ireland, which is a member of the European Union. They say that is no good because there's no limit on how long that backstop is going to last. We need the fact that we need to know when it's going to stop, and that we have to be able to get out of that without asking the European Union to give us the authorization. So that's the big stumbling block in this deal. So Theresa May has won this vote of confidence, but it doesn't change anything on the Brexit side. This deal that she's negotiated with the EU, one that Benedict was saying has taken 2 years to do, it's still there. It's still got to go through the House of Commons. It's still got to win approval and then come into effect on the 29th of March. It was supposed to be voted on yesterday. It wasn't, because she knows she hasn't got the numbers necessary to get through. So she's going to try again sometime between now and the 21st of January. Will she be able to overhaul this Brexit deal by negotiating with people in Brussels or not? Well, they say, no, we're not going to change anything. She says, well, we might be able to renegotiate something with the backstop, and that might suffice. But the way it's looking at the moment, that deal still doesn't have any chance at all of getting through the House of Commons. So we come back once again to square one. And I really don't know how Theresa May is going to find a way out of this. So she's been threatening all day, well, if you kick me out, it's going to prolong the process of Brexit. We don't even know if there'll be a Brexit. And worst of all, if you kick me out, the Labour Party might call a vote of no confidence in the Conservative Party, and then that will unleash general elections, and that will bring in Jeremy Corbyn. So keep me in office, and I think the deal she signed, as Benedict said, was keep me in office, let me get through the Brexit process, then I'll stand down, and then you can have a new candidate for the next elections in 2022.
Indeed. She has been described as the walking wounded, given that this has been
or a dead woman walking, I think even worse.
It's even more cruel, isn't it? She's been described as the walking wounded, given what has happened. Do you think that she can, very briefly, Philip, do you think that she can actually continue to be, well, can she be more effective? Because she's actually won a vote, which is quite a change.
I am always completely flabbergasted by the ability of Theresa May to bounce back. If you think about what she's been through over the last couple of years, with all the fighting in her own party, with the hard Brexit, the soft Brexit, and the anti-Brexit people who can't agree with each other, within the Conservative Party, already attempted to try and get rid of her with a no-confidence vote, which didn't work. The one today, which did work, but they didn't manage to get rid of her. She's not a third Brexit secretary. She's still there as Prime Minister. That's not even mentioning the opposition and Jeremy Corbyn. So remarkable ability to stay put in the face of, like, a storm. I wonder how long she can carry on.
Philip Tell, thank you very much indeed. Theresa May winning that vote of confidence in the House of Commons among her own party members, of course, by 200 votes to 117. Philip, thank you for your analysis. Next to you, live from Paris. Police in France are calling on the public to look out for a man they want over the atrocity in Strasbourg. He's Sharif Shekat. He's 29 years old, believed to be wounded and possibly armed and dangerous. Shekat is known to the police as a repeat violent offender. He's also under an S notice, the Fiche S, which means he's been flagged up as a terror or security risk to France. This Wednesday, the manhunt has continued in and around Strasbourg after at least 2 people were killed when a man opened fire yesterday evening at the city's famous Christmas market. People, as you see here, laying tributes and paying their respects to those who were involved. Let's bring in our reporter Nadia Massi, who's in Strasbourg. Nadia, good evening to you. Tell us more about the mood where you are.
Well, as you'd imagine, Mark, a very sombre atmosphere here tonight. I'm standing on the street where just over 24 hours ago. There's 3 small memorials just behind me on this street. People are coming to lay candles, white roses, and people perhaps just walking past on their way home, stopping for a few moments to pay their respects. The biggest memorial, the third one down the road from me here, there's a sign that says, "We'll be united against barbarism." And as you can imagine, Mark, then, just a really sombre, sad scene here in the centre of Strasbourg tonight, and what would normally be a festive, joyful season at the heart of the Christmas period here.
Nadia, what's the latest you can tell us where you are about the manhunt?
You know, that manhunt, Mark, tonight simply still ongoing 24 hours after that attack took place. This is, of course, an international operation now involving German police as well as police here in France. We know there are 750 officers deployed here on the streets of Strasbourg to look for him. He's still very much at large. We know members of his family, 4 members of his family have been detained by police as they tried to ascertain where he might be. Speculation that he might have crossed that border into Germany before new checks were imposed on the border. We're now in the highest state of security alert that France can be in, and that means that there are more police on the streets, more security at that border. But for the moment, no breakthrough tonight on what is the biggest manhunt in France at the moment.
Nadia, thank you very much indeed. Nadia Massi joining us there from Strasbourg. Let's get more analysis of the situation as the manhunt for Sharif Shekat is being stepped up across France. Let's bring in Roberta Bonazzi, founder and president of the European Foundation for Democracy. Roberta, thank you for being with us. We have a terror alert, a man hunted by police in France, perhaps even across borders here in Europe. I wonder if you're concerned that all these measures taken to track people, measures that maybe might be judged to interfere with people's freedoms and democracy, basically these measures are just not working.
Well, to a certain extent, the reality shows that these measures are not working when it comes to the ultimate security of people. The fact that the reality is that we're talking about incredible numbers. France, this is estimated that France has something like 26,000 individuals that are considered as radicalized, about 50,000 across Europe. And the question is how to deal with this, with the phenomenon, and how to deal with these individuals. The way the European countries and liberal democracies are structured is that we still have to respect to a certain extent civil liberties while ensuring security.
Indeed, and that whole issue, and at the centre of this, I think, is the fiche
Some of the measure.
I'm sorry to cut across you, Roberta. I thought you'd finished there. Can I ask you this question about the fiche S? That's I think the thing that people are shocked by, that someone can be flagged up as a security risk to the country, but still be able to perpetrate this kind of crime.
Well, the level of the fiche S indicates that an individual is being monitored and is being tracked. But because we are in a system based on the rule of law, we cannot just the system does not allow to just arrest people based on suspicions or suspicious behavior. The reality is that the law enforcement, the police, went to the residence of this individual, of Sherif Shekat, to arrest him just before he then decided to move to violence. And another important element is that to be able to monitor someone effectively, an individual, in order to monitor one individual, it is necessary to have 24 hours a day. Around 30 people are required to monitor an individual. You just have to do the maths, and it's not physically possible. So what I believe is interesting about what has happened.
Carry on, please. Carry on.
Yeah.
No, continue, Roberta, continue.
About this latest attack is that what is interesting about this latest, the Strasbourg attack, is that for quite some time in Europe, we've become used to individuals using almost daily life tools, from a knife to a car to a truck. Whereas here, the terrorist was heavily armed. At his residence, the police found weapons and explosive, which indicates a strong degree of support. He's not acting alone. There's a support network around him, and this is something that. As I said, for a while, we almost thought that we had to fear what many have called lone actors.
Roberta Bonazzi of the European Foundation for Democracy, thank you very much for joining us, and thank you for your analysis of the situation.